So tonight, with no more oil flowing to the Gulf, can we finally begin to feel a little bit optimistic about all this? I want to bring in John Hofmeister, who is former president of Shell Oil and the founder and chief executive of Citizens for Affordable Energy, and also historian Doug Brinkley, who has been with us from the very beginning of all of this. And Doug, given how many times you've been on this show, calling out BP, the administration, for how they've handled the crisis, how are you feeling right now about all this?
Well, this is the first time we can actually kind of celebrate. We all have to be very cautious, but optimistic right now. It's very, very an exciting event that's taking place. Many people thought the best case scenario was really going to be the relief wells, late August, early September. If we could save a month or 5 weeks of oil, stop it from gushing into the Gulf, it gives us a better fighting chance to kind of reclaim that region. But as you mentioned, Campbell, this is just the beginning of a process. We've got a lot of bad things that can continue to happen. But I think for tonight's the first time since the Deepwater Horizon incident that people can say today was a better day than the day before.
Certainly was. John, let me get your technical expertise here. Doug Suttle spoke earlier this evening and said that we have turned a corner. Listen briefly to what he said.
We could be very close, whether it's through this activity or through the relief wells, to the point where we feel like, I think everyone feels like we've begun to turn a corner, and an important corner.
Have we? Do you agree with that?
I think it's an important step forward. It took a long time to engineer that new cap. That's why it didn't happen sooner, because of the engineering modifications that had to take place. But there is a clear orchestration taking place, Campbell, between the control of the flow at the top of the well, simultaneous with the positioning of the relief well activity at the base of the reservoir. I think it's very important to keep those two things coordinated, because what we're dealing with here, we believe, is a very weak casing, a casing that has perhaps been damaged. And what you don't want is for the pressure to rise too high at the top of the well, which could do damage at the top of the well, meaning we have to move too quickly at the bottom of the well. But both things being orchestrated, I think, does give some hope that we have a chance of controlling the flow. Otherwise, we probably need to just figure out how to produce the well.
So I want you to go a little deeper on this, John, because this is, I've heard a couple of people talk about this, and it's being kind of described as a little bit of a worst case scenario in terms of what scientists are worried about. I mean, this is a very delicate moment, isn't it?
It's a very delicate moment because this is a very high pressure reservoir. And it has been eroding this casing. First of all, you had the big blowout, which was the sudden surge of incredible pressure going against the sides of this steel casing. It could have been damaged. It could have been weakened. Remember, steel has a breaking point. And the worry here is that the breaking point of the casing is, nobody really knows what that is. But you don't want to break that casing, or you have an uncontrolled flow that there's no way to stop, because the oil now comes up outside the casing as well as inside the casing. And so they have to be very, very delicate about every step they take.
So let me just take it one step further, if I can, with you, John, before I go back to Doug. If that happens, what you just laid out, then what?
Well, then you better count on the relief wells working, or you'd better figure out, how you're going to implode the well. An alternative before you get to that point, though, is you could decide just to plain out produce the well and just continue to try to control the flow of oil and drain the reservoir over months of years and use that oil for productive purposes.
Wow. It is, Doug, hardly, I guess, a moment of celebration given that context. And let me take it even broader in the grand scheme of things. The relief wells still being dug. You just heard the scenario John laid out. I mean, cleanup alone could take years, clearly years. How do you describe the stage we're in right now?
I think we're in mid-course of this disaster. What's really changed is the Obama administration was kind of caught off guard. If you recall, in the first weeks, it was a BP problem, and they did their junk shot and the containment and their cap. It was all the petroleum industry's technology to try to solve the problem. The Obama administration came in strong at one juncture, working with the Department of Energy. President Obama brought in the best petroleum engineers and scientists and minds of the world to confront what was and is a national security problem, not a BP problem, not a company's problem, but an American problem problem, and you're getting some results here. You know, if you look at the history of warfare in World War II, so many advancements in technology come at a time of crisis. President Obama addressed the nation from the Oval Office and gave a kind of a wartime speech and said, we're going to attack this problem. You are seeing the fruition of our government's attacking of this problem. It's just that it takes a while, and we're keeping our fingers crossed. But as I said, this is a bit of good news. We don't have time yet, though, Campbell, to look at how much damage did the dispersants do. What is the state of Louisiana wetlands? Are people, why isn't BP right now paying for the oil that's spilled? They're behind monies that they're supposed to be paying the government, and the Interior Department tomorrow is going to be talking about that a lot. So there are a lot of issues still on the table, but tonight we can all take at least a sigh of relief and not have to watch half of our screen right now at oil gusher.
Absolutely. Doug Brinkley, as always, appreciate your time. And John Hofmeister, thanks both of you for joining us tonight. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
And folks, don't go anywhere. This could be an important hour as we hope to learn if the cap will keep holding. It has been nearly 5 hours since oil last emptied into the Gulf. Anderson Cooper's